Now is our time for meditation, so I invite you to get comfortable in your chair and those feet firmly planted on the floor. Close your eyes if you're comfortable, and we'll take some deep breaths together, breathing in and out. Letting that breath of God breathe us into this place of quiet, this place of calm, where you can feel your shoulders relaxing as you just allow the chair to support your body. There's no place we need to be, nothing we need to be doing. Right here, right now. Just breathing this breath of God in and out. This day we focus on the idea of peace. This day we understand that we choose to have the peace of Christ rule in our hearts. And so I invite you to bring into mind a person or a situation that is troubling to you in your life at this moment. And just imagine what that feels like as you breathe in this breath of God and you feel the love of God in you, as you and through you, and you feel that peace of Christ that is who you really are. And you make a decision in this moment to turn over this worry, concern, and fret that you're feeling for this individual or this situation, and you're turning it over and you're giving it to that peace of Christ within you. You're handing it over. I invite you to see yourself handing it, giving it away. It's not yours to do. Often we take on so many things that really are not ours to do, not ours to worry about, not ours to be concerned about, but to just be witnessing and observing from the peace of God that you are, the love of God that you came here to be, and to be witnessing this situation from that place in your heart. And so now I invite you to enter into a few moments of silence where you actually see in your mind's eye the letting go, the allowing. And we do this in the silence. There is absolutely no reason for us to carry things in our hearts and in our minds. So, as divine expressions, we have come here to be that expression of God, because God doesn't have hands and feet and ears and eyes and a mouth to speak. So we are that. We are expressing as God, being the peace and the love that we came here to be. And so no one can take our peace away. It is a choice. If we allow it to leave us, it is a choice. So I say this day, let's choose, at least during this Advent season all the way up to Christmas, Choose the peace of Christ. Let it rule in your hearts. Because that's who you really are. That's who you came here to be. We allow that. And then we come into the fullness of the understanding of ourselves as Christed beings. And so we say thank you, indwelling Spirit, for this opportunity to remember the opportunities that we have to let go and let God be God in us. And now we bring our attention back into this room. And whenever you're ready, just open your beautiful eyes. Such a beautiful slide. So, the gift of peace. I was reading an article this week by Philip Goldberg. I wasn't really familiar with him, but I understand that he's recently written a book called Spiritual Practice for Crazy Times. And I'm thinking, that's a pretty good title for right now, right? He talks about how our spiritual practices aren't enough, just our staying centered. You would think that that would be enough, but he has this article that he wrote that Unity published, and it's called the Spiritual Two-Step. Now, immediately, I'm an old German girl, so I'm thinking about the polka, right? You know, and it's not that at all. It has nothing to do with music that way. The Spiritual Two-Step, what he's talking about is it's no longer enough to just be in our centered and grounded place. We have to take the second step, which is to take our peace into the world, to make an impact, to help the world become a better place. We can't just have it all be an inside job. It needs to be an outside job as well. So he says, think of it as a spiritual two-step. The first step is you step back, you turn within, you access the silent core of your being, you ground yourself in the consciousness of our essence of unity, and then step two is you step boldly into action, he says. You step boldly into active life, fully equipped to fulfill your responsibilities and to make the world a better place. And he says no gesture is too small, no effort is insignificant. We just need to try. And if you think about it, when you're in a peaceful place, I don't care if you're in Walmart and you're in a long line and it's Christmas Eve and you're still shopping, right? You can still be the peace of God. And you can still be kind and loving, right, to those people who are working and trying to do good, and those people who are trying to cut in line in front of you. You can just be peace. When you do that, when you smile at other people that seem, you see the brow, you know, they're like, oh, you know, I got this to do, I got this to do. They're all uptight. You can be the peace of God in that moment. We're not talking about major things. We're talking about making a difference, one person at a time, right? That's how we can be God in expression. So this world is still full of crazy turmoil. I mean, 5 decades ago, it was kind of like this, and it's still like this. So personal transformation is just not enough any longer. It doesn't seem to be enough to tip the consciousness of the planet to the place that we want to be. You know, we're waiting to get to this point where more people get it and understand who they are. And so we're just not there yet. So we have to work a little bit harder. So now we have to take what we know, our peace, and we have to take that into the world. Outer directed actions are needed if we really want to make the world a better place. So, you know, we've been doing a theme for the whole year. This is our last month. We've done every aspect of our life and how and what kind of spiritual practices we can put into place to be the people that we came here to be. And so this is December, and we're expecting the good, and we're focusing on social life. Isn't that perfect as we all gather and get together with family members, maybe some we haven't been with in a long time? And expecting the good is the perfect thing for December because we're so busy doing. This is the time that we need to be and remember We are spiritual beings, first and foremost, before we are doings. I know we think we're doings in December especially, but this is when we get to expect the good. And really, Advent is the perfect time. It's a wonderful attitude to have. And so we have an affirmation that goes along with our focus for the month. Let's say it together. I see the world as an ever unfolding gift. Now just imagine if you lived your life from that place. Always knowing that God is good, good is coming. It doesn't matter if the appearance is kind of foggy and you're kind of trying to figure out what is the message in this thing that's coming to me now. What is this that I'm experiencing? What lesson am I learning? When you're expecting the good and when you're looking for that unfolding gift, you find it. It's a matter of a wonderful attitude that you can have. So this is the second Sunday of Advent. Last week, Reverend Eileen did a great job of the first Sunday, which is Hope Ignites Faith, is what we were talking about. So today we get to focus on, and for this whole week, we get to focus on the gift of peace. Peace is defined as tranquility, serenity, harmony, contentment, and calm. I don't know about you, it feels pretty good. Just having those words in my vocabulary, right? So, it means we get to take a breath and go, oh, I remember what that feels like. We know that our world definitely needs peacemakers, right? So how do we show up as that? Well, so this week, every week, I'm an hour to an hour and a half with my prayer partner on the phone. And so she's in another state. And so we spend our quality time together. And we were actually sort of brainstorming, what are those qualities that we can be that will help us to feel more and be more of the peace that we want to show up as? So these are the things that we came up that we guarantee you can have more peace if you have a faith in God, a higher power, if you have some sort of faith in the one mind, if you have humility, self-acceptance, and self-compassion, aren't those an important thing, right? When you're open-minded, you're more flexible, we've decided. You need to be more open-minded. Allow things to not look exactly as you expected them, right? When you're optimistic, when you have an optimistic attitude and a positive outlook and you're looking for the good, guess what? It comes. It shows up. Sometimes not exactly as you intended it or thought that it might, but it still does show up. And if you have hope for the future and you have concern for others' well-being, that also is a way that you show up as peace. So you demonstrate peace by how you treat yourself and others. How you treat yourself comes first. Did you realize that? How you treat yourself comes first. You must have self-love and self-peace before you can be that for other people. And speaking about others, someone's other people in their families, for instance, don't necessarily show up with the behavior that you would like or prefer, right? And so in order to keep your peace, you have to allow that to be the way it is. You have to allow and step back in judgment and just allow people to be. So someone else's choices or behaviors can't disturb your peace unless you let them, right? You have control over that. You have control. So now we're going to Scripture. And those of you that are new today, I don't know if you know it, but we interpret the Bible metaphysically, not literally. And so today we're in Colossians. We're in chapter 3, verse 15. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in the one body, and be thankful. Be thankful that you were called. Don't you love that? Be thankful that you were called to be here. There's a reason you're in this incarnation at this particular time, because we need your peace. We need your showing up as love. We need your being the light. So how do we let the peace of Christ rule in our hearts, regardless of what exterior things are happening in our lives? By staying our mind on God, by staying our mind on the Christ within us, by expressing only what is in the mind, we can be at peace regardless of whatever is happening around us. You see, the peace of Christ, if you think of that word rule, let the peace of Christ rule your hearts. Think about a rule. Think about an umpire. Think about how they're watching all the time, guiding, making sure things are right. Think about the peace of Christ in your heart being that referee of your thoughts and your minds so that you don't stray off and lose your peace, right? Think about that rule being that peace of Christ in your mind. I love that idea that I can think about that, because when you have control over your thoughts and emotions, there is nothing you can't do in your life. There's nothing that you can't create, that you can't manifest. But we first must get those flocks of sheep herded in so that we're not all over the place with our minds, you see. So when we go back to our roots, go back to the peace of God. Go back to the peace of the Christ. Let that rule, and you can control those runaway emotions. Because I'll tell you what, these are the times when we feel overwhelmed by thoughts, by things that we have to do, by emotions, by situations in our lives. All we have to do is stop and breathe, right? Set your heart on the peace of God in that moment. Set your heart right then and there. And that peace will rise up. You will be so surprised and so amazed that that peace will just rise up from your spirit and give you the strength that you need to do whatever it is that you need to do. You just have to allow it. So this week, there are no accidents, you know. This is I love synchronicity. And when we're awake and we're alert, we're seeing synchronicities all over the place. So this week in our book study, we're doing Diagrams for Living by Emmett Fox. And of course, the chapter is called What Jesus Taught About Christmas. And so we got into this wonderful discussion. Emmett Fox says, Christmas symbolizes that mystical thing, the incarnation of God in man. The life of Jesus is a dramatization of the Christed soul, the soul that has chosen the spiritual path. He taught love and compassion and how we emulate peace. Jesus knew that the disciples could offer peace wherever they went. He also understood that peace couldn't be taken from them even when it was rejected. So we can choose to follow in the Master's footsteps, or we can choose to go it on our own. It's called free will. We get to choose how we want to show up. So when I think about this idea, Jesus taught only that the permanent way to peace was through right direction of thoughts. And when I think about right direction of thoughts, I immediately go to the Sea of Galilee. Jesus was with the disciples, and, you know, they got on the boat, remember? And Jesus, they'd been traveling. He was tired. He was going to take a nap, so he fell asleep. And then what happened? The storm came, right? And the boat starts doing this number, right? And the disciples, they're getting all panicky about it. You know, they're like, oh, my God, we're going to die. This is it. This is the end of the world. We're going to drown right here, you know. And finally, they wake Jesus up, and he's like, what have you been thinking about? Where is your mind? Where is your thoughts? What are you doing? Just say, think, and feel. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. Know it, feel it, believe it, think it, expect it, right? And then, of course, what happened? The calm came. This is what we do to ourselves when we spiral ourselves down into emotional things, when we predict, you know, the spiraling down part instead of the spiraling up part. We do this to ourselves. If we've been picturing the worst results possible from watching the news, or, those friends that just love to talk about illness. They just want to talk about their aches and pains and all that. And you're like, oh, you can choose not to do that. We can say, stop. Because what happens is our boat starts filling up with these stormy things. We're like, I don't want to hear that. Thank you. I don't want to go there. I don't want to be in that negative energy. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing, and then go someplace else and talk to somebody else. We know that we have control over that because we have to keep our mind stayed on God and not on the negativity. So peace is ours when we have spiritual practices. So I have some tips of what you can do during this season that will help you remember the peace that you are. Number one is you have to set boundaries. You have to put yourself on a digital diet. You have to turn that thing off, that phone, that iPad, that computer. You have to give yourself a gift of peace, of quiet. You set a timer, or you put it in your calendar. This is the day, and the timer and the buzzer goes off, and you go, oh, time to turn this stuff off. You take a break. You have to have boundaries. You have to have boundaries in your relationships, too. You have to have boundaries. You have to be careful about your time and where you're spending your time and energy. You have to find the off switch for those questions and that hand wringing that goes on. You don't have to have all the answers. And you certainly don't have to have them in this moment. You can say, I'm going to think about that and I'll get back to you later, right? You have control over your peace. Then you have to remember to breathe. You have to remember to breathe. It's so simple, but we forget. We have all this shallow breathing. We forget. Stop, be quiet, breathe. Focus on nothing else but your breath. Can be in your meditation. I start out my day that way. It's the first thing I do. Sit up, breathe. Breathe. And then I go into my meditation, and then I do my prayer time, and then I do my journaling. We all have to have spiritual practices that keep us grounded and centered. The next thing is to be grateful. There's so much that seems wrong with things, right? We're witnessing all kinds of weird things. But you can take a moment to be focused on something that you're grateful for, even if it's just the fact that you woke up. You have to start somewhere, right? So you find something to be grateful for every single day. And then the last thing is to trust. The world always rights itself because there is always divine order unfolding in our world. God is in the midst of everything all the time. And so you don't have to worry about it. You just have to let divine order unfold it for you, right? You stay in the peace. Every generation has always thought that the world was ending, but here we are still plugging along, generation after generation. So things always work out in the long term. So what we have to do is figure out how to go with the flow. Mother Teresa once gave us a very short 5-step simple path. She says, number 1, silence is prayer. Number 2, prayer is faith. Number 3, faith is love. Number 4, love is service. And number 5, the fruit of service is peace. Because when you're doing for others, you're not in your own head and you're not in your own drama because you're thinking about someone else and doing something good for someone else. So true peace comes when we're doing for others and making the world a better place. So I suggest to you that when you start feeling a little anxious, nervous, overwhelmed, or whatever, you affirm as often as you need to, peace be to me. Peace be to me. Peace be to this place, wherever you are, if you're feeling it in an environment of something. Peace be to this place. And then remind yourself, I am the presence of peace. I am the presence of peace. Claim it, do it, and know that it's your birthright. All right? Okay. Enough preaching. It's time for a joke. Okay, so a local priest and a pastor were out on off the side of the road. They were fishing. And so they made this sign. They very thoughtfully made this sign. The end is near. Please turn around and go back. And so people were coming, and they were turning and going back. But this one particular car came by, and she hollered at them, "Get out of here, you crazy religious nuts." Okay? And they said, "Okay," and so then they heard this splash. And the priest turns to the pastor and he says, "You think perhaps we should have put on the sign, 'Bridge out'?" Cute. Love those pastor jokes. So I want to close today right from our Advent booklet about peace. It says, in the Revealing Word, our Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore defines peace as harmony and tranquility derived from awareness of our Christ consciousness. A peacemaker can say peace to turbulent waves of thought and reduce all thoughts of strife, anger, and retaliation to peace and harmony. That's how powerful your word is. In everyday terms, we can declare peace and navigate the stress inherent in this busy time of year. We make peace within ourselves first, and then we extend it out to the world, knowing there can be no peace in the external until it is cultivated within. Peace begins with me. And that's the way it truly is, folks. God bless. Thank you. Thank you so much. So happy that you're here with us today, and so happy for our sweet folks on Zoom. Welcome, everybody. We're so happy to have you. So whether you are giving in the sanctuary, this is our time of blessing of gifts and tithes, or whether you're watching online through Zoom and you're giving on PayPal, or you're hitting that Breeze button, we're so very grateful for you. Let's say this together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so. Namaste.